So between 1989 and 1990, my parents entered into a divorce procedure. It was very, very difficult for both of them because even if they knew it was the right thing to do, they both still had feelings for each other. So it was a phase which was very difficult for them to understand, to say goodbye. And they separated, and my mother bought a house in the same town as my father, as I said, some 100 meters away. 10-15 minutes walk. So that was very good for me. I could still see my two parents. And my father got the main custody for me because my mother, as I said, had some psychological troubles, and that played against her in the trial. But I could see her every 2 weekends, so every other weekend. And I also saw her every Tuesday night and Wednesday, so I could also see her each week for some time. And this whole period, the first years were very, very tense between my parents. There was a lot of emotional tension. It was difficult to be in the middle because they both had to turn the page, and it was difficult. We're both doing emotional blackmail, which means that my mother was asking questions. What's he doing? Is he meeting any new women? That kind of stuff. And my father was saying, you don't tell her anything, this is not her business, blah, 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 blah. You don't have to you should not talk about this, you cannot talk about this and this. So I was in the middle of this tension between both of them for many, many years, and there were still some fights once in a while. So these years were difficult, and in this whole period, your parents are talking to you and are saying, you know, it's not your fault, it's not your fault, it's not your fault. And the way hell is paved with good intentions, right? And the way the brain works, the human brain works, is that if I tell you, don't think about a pink elephant, what are you going to do? You first need to think about a pink elephant to then create the negative, not think about it, right? So if I say, it's not your fault, it's not your fault, it's not your fault, what does the brain integrate? It integrates fault, okay? It needs to integrate first fault in order to create the contrary. So what you integrate unconsciously deep down when you're 5 years old, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, is that it's your fault. It's your fault. And that's what all the parents do and tell their kids. And it's not my parents' fault in a way, right? Because they did it they did it without knowing. They haven't done any NLP, they don't know that stuff. But that's exactly the wrong way to talk to a child. So all of that left traces and deep roots in me that I had to work out later, and I had to free myself from all of these imprints, and that was an emotional work that I did. And it took some time to do so in order to free myself from these elements. But this whole period was very, very tense for me, and I closed myself quite a lot to others. I was very, very shy. I was very, very insecure for many years. I was throwing up in the morning before going to school. That's how stressed I was. That's how the vibe was really, really negative for all this time. So, but they did their best, and eventually, after some years, the climate between my parents became lighter and lighter, and the storm passed. So it became easier to go from one house to another, right? I had my stuff. I had to pack my backpack when I was going to school. I had my clothes and my books and everything. But that gymnastics, I got there after a while, and the climate got better. And but I still brought with me, as I said, all these imprints. And if I had not done the inner work that I did later on, I would not have figured it out, and I would not have figured out the imprints that I had and the framework with which I was living my life and interacting with the world. But I took the time to free myself from that, and today I live life on my own terms, and that's great, So in the next video, we are going to go through exactly the process that leads for someone to say, okay, I'm going to end my life, I don't want to live anymore. What is the self-destructive process that takes you to that place, because that's something that's very very common in our society, unfortunately, today.